it's certainly critical to my state, and that's why we fought off these 12 lawsuits. We had them in Houston, we had them in San Antonio, we had them in Austin, we had them in the counties where you'd have the most liberal judges. And it was a concerted effort nationally with lots of money going into it. And just knowing that we had 12 lawsuits that we had to win. And if we had lost one of them, like if we lost Harris County, Trump won by 620,000 votes in Texas. Harris County mail-in ballots that they wanted to send out were 2.5 million. Those were all illegal, and we were able to stop every one of them. Had we not done that, we would have been in the very same situation. We would have been on election night. I was watching election night, and I knew when I saw what was happening in these other states that would have been Texas. We would have been in the same boat. We would have been one of those battleground states that they were counting votes in Harris County for 3 days, and Donald Trump would have lost the election.
So that is Ken Paxton, of course, Attorney General of Texas, notably in the news over the past couple of weeks because he is in the process of being impeached by Republicans for corruption and bribery allegations and all of that. It's an ongoing process. We've been doing coverage of it, and we will continue to. But in what appears to be an attempt to get Republicans back on his side, he's effectively saying there, if I hadn't stopped mail-in ballots from being sent in Harris County, which is a part of Texas that's much more Democratic, then Trump would have lost Texas because Democrats would have actually been able to vote, perish the thought, in a democracy. And of course, if Trump had lost Texas, then he would have even more so lost the presidential election. I don't know why that's so significant, but if you believe that Trump actually won the election, then I suppose in this counterfactual hypothetical, then that would matter. There's a lot of issues here. If we take at face value the claims that Ken Paxton is making there, if we believe that all of this is true, which it's not, then this is horrible. The idea that a guy who is supposed to be one of the chief arbiters of the law effectively in a state is saying, I used a legal process to stop millions of people from voting, and that's the only way Republicans can win, even in a state like Texas. That is embarrassing. It's anti-democratic, all of that. There are other issues with it. First of all, they were not trying to send out 2.4 million ballots. No, they were sending out applications for mail-in ballots. They were not all illegal like Ken Paxton says. It's an administrative process wherein you would fill out the paperwork, they would check to make sure that you can vote, and then they would send you a ballot. It's done in many countries. It's done in many states. In this country, he is trying to make it seem like something sinister. It is not, unless you believe that people who disagree with you voting is inherently sinister, which he clearly does. So he's lying about what was actually being sent. The effect, I also think it's incredibly unlikely that it would have swung 600,000 votes. So I think that he is protesting too much in his own support there. But even if, again, you accept it, what he's saying is inherently anti-democratic, and it is a representation that the Republicans do seem to have internalized that the only way that they can ever win an election is by stopping people from voting. Adrienne, what do you make of all this?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think that he probably said the quiet part out loud. And also a lot of the things he says are absolute crackpot things. It just seems that Paxton is really going down this path where he may not necessarily be in a position to pull himself back from it. And so for him to keep kind of spouting these things and also what he's dealing with in terms of his impeachment, it's just like the Republicans are not bringing their best to the point where other Republicans are kicking them out.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, in this case, at least, it seems like, I don't know if it was a combination of popularity or the severity of the allegations, but it is novel to see them being willing to kick out a Republican. Again, it's not finalized or whatever, but they're going to be doing this ongoing investigation. It's not helping him in the meantime. So Ken Paxton is probably going to have to do a little bit more than this to convince people that he's worth keeping around. And it's just a reminder to everyone that this is the actual approach of Republicans towards voting, and not just regular conservatives who don't want to see commie college students vote. Like, they're elected leaders in states like Texas, incredibly important states. Again, I don't necessarily think that he was successful in swinging the result of Texas, but what he is announcing there is if he is ever able to swing the results of an election, he will actively do that.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.